But here you still sitting in your room on the internet, you're by yourself, you cannot learn that much, you know.
Well, I think there have been a lot of advances made in distance learning and e-learning, so I wouldn't go quite that far. But I do wonder, people who are paying good money for these degrees, how much it will actually help them to get those jobs that they're promised. You know, like you were saying, the path to the middle class. Is it really?
No. According to Senator Durbin, federal government gives loans to these students, 90% of them. To him, it appears like something is not kosher here. So, folks, Senator Durbin is going to start having hearings to take a look, why should government, taxpayers, support 90% of these students on the internet for-profit colleges?
There are a lot of us nowadays who are looking at the internet for our news sources, right? We look at different newspapers online, and that's where we get the bulk of our news. Yahoo is doing something a little bit differently nowadays. They're about to start a blog which is going to be driven by search data. In other words, they track the words that people put into their search when they're looking for news, right? The kinds of things that they're trying to learn about. So they're going to use that technology to actually drive the content. What kind of news are you going to find on their website? Well, the kind of stuff that you've been looking for and what you've been searching for. They actually have the technology to do this, and the new blog is going to be called The Upshot. That is going to be based on what you're looking for. When I was looking back as to where this idea came from, apparently during the 2008 Summer Olympics, there were a lot of people who were watching the diving on the Olympics, and they were wondering, how come all of these divers, as soon as they get out of the water, they immediately go and take a shower, right? It's the first thing that you see them do. So a lot of people were putting in those questions in Yahoo. Why are divers showering right after their dive? Apparently, they were showering because that warm water is what helps to warm up their muscles a little bit, and they needed to do that for a very specific reason. So Yahoo was very smart, and they got some sports writers to put together a story called The Mystery of the Showering Divers. Essentially, they took all those search questions and said, hey, this is a niche that people want to know about, but they can't find any explanation in the news, so we're going to put a story online specifically answering that question. That's the idea of The Upshot, and I bet we're going to see more and more of that online.
That has been going on forever. You know, even in print journalism, the story and idea comes in is because someone asked a question. It is so basic.
No, but it's different now because usually it's the editor who has the ultimate control over the content. They decide the priorities. This is changing the power dynamic to some degree, saying that the user, the viewer, in this case, the person who's coming to your website, they get to decide what's important. It is shifting.
Folks, in New York State, there are approximately 200,000 nannies. And they have decided to form an association. Because nannies are the ones that are terminated without time. They're made to work sometimes 12, 14 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, or even 5 days a week. Come in at 7, leave at 11, come back at 3, and work till 9 or 10. I mean, their timings are so unregulated, so they want to regulate their work. The state of New York, the Senate has passed a law in which that there will be 5 days will be holidays. Those are the national holidays. They'll get 5 of those. They'll get 6 days of sick leave, 5 days of vacation. You want to terminate them, give them 2 weeks notice. You know, one of the toughest things for some of these nannies are that they have worked with the kid and they've gotten attached to the kid. And then one day they're terminated, next day they can't see the kid, and the kid has his own withdrawals, and the nanny has her own withdrawals. So the state is saying, let's get in here and ask you, look, be kind, and give 2 weeks notice.
I think it's a wonderful idea. If you think about it, this is such an important and very difficult job that a lot of mostly young women are in, and what we find is that a lot of people take advantage of domestic help, like people who take care of children. So here's an opportunity for the government to say there should be some standards, right? They're pretty basic, like you were saying. It didn't sound like anything unrealistic to get a few holidays, a little bit of sick time, a little bit of vacation. It seems quite reasonable.
Now, the next step will be in Hong Kong. By the way, folks, every Sunday, if you go to the terminal, the ferry terminal is totally covered with Filipino nannies who actually are hired to come work in Hong Kong. And I want to tell you, they have hairdressers up there, they have retail stores, they give you massages. I mean, there's a whole atmosphere of a fair. So every Sunday, the Filipino nannies in Hong Kong, they get together. It won't be too long when 200,000 nannies will meet at Central Park.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to live to be 100 years old? A lot of us wonder, right, about longevity. What is it with those people, not just that live long, but live long, healthy lives? Well, there has been an unprecedented study from the National Institute on Aging's Division of Geriatrics and Clinical Gerontology just about that very topic. They were looking to see not just lifestyle things that can affect how long you live, but also genetics. They actually compared the genes of 1,055 centenarians with those of 1,267 people to see whether they could find unique patterns. It turns out that there really are some genetic differences. For example, researchers identified 150 genetic variations apparently associated with longevity that could be used to predict with 77% accuracy whether someone would live to be 100 or not. That's pretty incredible that there are 150 genetic variations that they're looking at. Of course, there needs to be much more research on this,